Welcome in everyone to another pregame show alongside Matt O'Leary. I am Connor Long, and we are here to preview the New York Jets Week 8 clash against the division rival New England Patriots. And Matt, it feels like the season is on the line. 2-5 Jets travel to Foxborough, take on the Patriots. We all know what happened in Week 3 home opener. Jets go out, win 24-3. Matt, what's going on?
Yeah, I am hoping for a similar performance that we saw the first time when these two teams played, a nice,
Mhm.
decisive 24-3 win. I'm live from the beach gallery again. I'm set up
Here we
outside
go.
the where I was the last time. There also, so we got a dual event here. Downstairs, they're doing a drag brunch, and upstairs where I am, they got the watch party going on. So I'm out on the deck right now. It's a beautiful day. Got the sweatshirt, but had to toss the sunglasses on because it's a little sunny out here. But yeah, excited to get this going and hopefully see a Jets win today.
Love it. And Matt, from what we're seeing out here on Twitter, it looks like it is going to be a bit of a chilly day over in Foxborough. The Jets do have a really lengthy injury report. I'm going to start with Alan Lazard. He is doubtful for today's game with a chest injury. And Malachi Corley, he's been inactive for the Jets' last 3 games. He's played 3 snaps this season. Do we see him active? What do you think happens with him today?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really contingent on if Alan Lazard ends up playing or not. With
Mhm.
how you were just talking there on the injury report, it doesn't seem like it's very likely that he's going to play in this game. So maybe we do see some Malachi Corley. I don't know how much he's going to be involved because we've seen even the few games when he was active, they didn't really play him all that much. Um, they like Xavier Gibson a lot more clearly, which is surprising to me because they talked very highly of Malachi Corley. They even tried trading up into the second round to get him, and now are seemingly refusing to play him here. But for me, my expectation is if he is active, maybe a handful of snaps, but I don't think he's going to come in here and replicate the kind of production we've seen from Alan Lazard.
Now, what we saw, Matt, last week from Xavier Gibson, 2 muffed punts. The Jets did keep possession on both of those. Gibson, though, is someone who struggled this season, both returning kicks and on the offensive side of the ball. If you are the Jets, are you making the change from Gibson to Corley? What are you thinking there?
Yeah, I don't really understand why they haven't tried that. I don't think Gibson's done a great job so far as a returner. Again, the couple fumbles last week, thank God they went out of bounds, but um, that's felt like a disaster waiting to happen. And all the credit in the world to Xavier Gibson. I think he did a really good job on that opening kickoff last, or the not the opening, but the game-winning kickoff last
Mhm.
year on opening day. But since then, hasn't really been all that great, unfortunately. So I would be willing to make a change on the special teams. I also don't get why Isaiah Davis is being used as a returner. That doesn't really seem like his strength. Um, but yeah, for whatever reason, the Jets seem a little apprehensive to make a change there.
Speaking of making a change, veteran Tyron Smith, 8-time Pro Bowl left tackle, he's struggled mightily this season. He leads the team, in penalties, sacks allowed, hurries allowed. He's really struggled. He came in, Matt, to be the anchor of this revamped offensive line. Now he's arguably the weakest link. Fans are calling for the benching of Smith and, in favor of rookie tackle Olu Fashanu. He started 2 games at right tackle this season. Didn't play too great. He allowed 9 pressures, but you have to keep in mind that was out of position for him. You think a poor performance from Smith today could warrant a benching?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how long the leash is for Tyron Smith. Has really struggled a lot this year with both sacks and penalties. His penalty
Mhm.
numbers are a lot higher than where they usually are. For a guy who, like, we know how talented he is. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer someday, but hasn't played like it since joining the Jets. And when you have someone who you take 11th overall, it feels like you'd be more willing to make that switch. It's a bold move, but something the Jets might have to do because, again, I just don't think he's been very competitive out there the last few weeks. He's getting beat with speed pretty consistently. And this is a league that revolves a lot around speed and speed rush on the edge. So I would be open to making a change. The Jets haven't really given any indication that they're looking to do that right now, but that could totally change with another tough week.
I put out a column, Matt, for Jets X Factor yesterday about the situation, and I said right now I think Smith still deserves the starting role because of his proven track record. And keep in mind, Olu Fashanu is yet to log a snap at left tackle in the NFL, and I think the biggest thing is Smith has stayed healthy, and that's what's killed him throughout his career. Injuries. He hasn't played a fully healthy season since 2015. Now, if he's able to stay healthy, I still remain confident in him that he's able to resurrect this very, very poor play. However, let's say these struggles continue today against a very weak New England Patriots pass rush, and then the Jets, they lose this game or the Halloween game, and then their playoff odds are just dwindling. Then I think it might be the time to make a change for Fashanu. If the Jets do fall out of playoff contention, I do think the Jets need to. I do think the team needs to pull the plug there. So it's a very, very, very interesting scenario. Speaking of the offensive line, Elijah Vera Tucker, he's out today. He's, obviously been one of the premier players on this team's line. Jeff Ulbrich said he's a candidate for the injured reserve list. Thoughts on the AVT injury and how does it affect the team?
Yeah, it's huge. Going from AVT to Jake Hansen's a major change, and unfortunately something we saw a lot the last couple of years. Elijah Vera Tucker with season-ending injuries. This time the injury didn't happen on the road in Denver like the last 2 years, but if he's an IR candidate, that means he's probably going to miss multiple games, which is not great for someone who, has had an injury history the last couple of years. I know all the injuries are unrelated. Like, it's not like he hurt the knee or, the same thing over and over again. And one was an Achilles and the other was, I believe, a tricep. But still, at the end of the day, the Jets, they need him out there to succeed on this offensive line. There's just a big talent discrepancy when you go from someone like Elijah Vera Tucker down to Jake Hansen. I'm hoping that he could hold down the fort, but they're going to need both, I think, Morgan Moses and Joe Tippmann to pick up the slack.
Everyone smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to both of our channels at Matt O'Leary NY, at NY Flight Jets Talk. Let's get into our new sponsor for these pregame shows, and it's Huga House. Quarterback 1, Aaron Rodgers rocking Huga House. Slot corner, Michael Carter II, Shane Gillis, Shohei Ohtani, Josh Allen, Brian Baumgartner, and many more. Go to hugahouse.com and use promo code Connor15 at checkout for 15% off on your first hat, 30% off on your second hat. Like I said, everyone make sure you are subscribed to both of our channels. Smash that like button at NY Flight Jets Talk, at Matt O'Leary NY. We really do appreciate all the support here on these pregame shows. Really lengthy injury report, Matt, for the team this week. Lucky Fotu, he's out again. Kenny Yeboah, he's questionable. He might make his season debut. Morgan Moses, he's even questionable. Thoughts on the just the overall injury report and how these injuries are going to affect the team today?
Yeah, it is going to have an impact. And, unfortunately, that's the NFL, right? Like, every team deals with injuries, so you can't necessarily just put it on a blame on only the Jets or, give them an excuse in this one. They have to find a way to beat a team that, frankly, has really struggled a lot this year. I mean, they won their first game, but have lost every game since. Their head coach just called them soft after a loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars in London this past week. So it is going to play a big factor. We mentioned, AVT being out, and there's some other ones. Thankfully, DJ Reed and Michael Carter are expected to make a return, but this team's beat up, but it's hard to find a team that isn't, 7-8 weeks into a season.
Speaking of soft, Matt, many Jets fans have categorized wide receiver Garrett Wilson as soft. Ball pops right off his hands. Aaron Rodgers, interception, almost gets taken to the house. Beanie Bishop, and that was really the tipping point of the Jets' Week 7 game against the Steelers. That's kind of what killed the momentum. What are your thoughts on Garrett Wilson? What do you expect out of him today as he faces off against Christian Gonzalez, who's held him to only 4 catches for 25 yards?
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far to call him a soft player. He hasn't been up to the standard I think we've grown to expect for Garrett Wilson. It's unfortunate that, against the Steelers, there was a clear play in that game that really changed things, and the ball goes off of his chest and becomes an interception. That's not, acceptable, and I'm not making an excuse for him, but he's someone who I think, year over year, this is his 3rd year with the Jets, he cares. You can tell by how frustrated, he gets when they're losing. And I think he just genuinely wants to win. And for me, I look at it as a player who's pressing and trying to do too much. and has just got to reel it in a little bit and play his game.
Absolutely, Matt. You ready to go to the phone lines?
Yeah, let's get it ripping.
Let's go to Ted first up on the line. Ted, what's going on?
Gentlemen, good morning. Matt, are you on the North Shore? Where are you at?
I'm in Keensburg, New Jersey, at the Beach Gallery.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. We should come out. Let's just say this. I don't want to give Drake May any hope of having any success today. So I would put Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed on the tight end and blitz the hell out of Drake May. When we can. That's the way I would approach the game, but I don't know if Ulbrich is, going to do that. But why give him the hope? We're the better team. We probably have the better coach. Maybe that could be questionable. But we have the better we have the better talent on paper. It hasn't been proven yet. I would start with that. Also, I'm looking at the Texans have to play a divisional game, against the Colts. So
Yes.
they're not going to be thinking about the Jets. If we can somehow, have one complete game and we look, I won't say impressive. I think we can roll back. The Texans coming in a short week. If they lose to the Colts, I'm playing scenarios here, obviously, but that's the only way I can think about the season right now. Let's come in there. Let's be impressive against a weak team, and then see how the Texans look against a divisional opponent. That's the way I look at this.
Matt, I'll jump in first here. You mentioned Drake May there, Ted. Okay, Drake May. I think this is what fans need to nail into their brains. I understand he's looked good the 2 games he's played thus far, but people are already drawing the conclusion that he's a franchise quarterback. He's among the best quarterbacks in the league, I have heard. That is not the case. I mean, the kid has played 2 games in the NFL. I'm tired of hearing it. Who knows? I think the Jets defense has the potential to cause a lot of havoc today. And you mentioned blitzing there. The Jets have blitzed at an all-time high under Jeff Ulbrich as of late because what the Jets have liked to do, they like to sit in that, 15 to 19%, blitz rate, and then they rush forward and drop back in the secondary, and that's how they cause their havoc. However, the problem is the Jets haven't been able to get home from the defensive line, with the exception of Will McDonald. No one else has really been able to, create havoc on the line. So I think that's one of the biggest things why the Jets are blitzing at such a high rate. But then, you neglect the secondary, then that opens up the door for big plays. That's why I think this Reddick addition is huge. He's not going to have a snap count today, which I think is great. I expect big things out of him. Matt, what are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm excited to see Hassan Reddick play in this one also. I know that Ulbrich said that he doesn't have a snap count, but I would really find it hard to believe that he's going to come in his first game and play like regular starter reps. I just don't think
like
that's
80%
a realistic
of the snaps.
Yeah, I don't think that's a realistic ask, but I do think in some sort of pass rush specialist role, he could come in, and no reason that he can't get a couple pressures or maybe even a sack today. Patriots offensive line isn't exactly one of their strengths, and a lot of times these young quarterbacks tend to hold on to the ball a little bit more. So I think the Jets are going to really try to get as much pressure on the young quarterback as possible here and try to bait him into a turnover. I know he didn't have one in the last game against Jacksonville, but there are a couple turnover-worthy throws in that game. And I believe it was 2 interceptions and a fumble in his first game. So he's going to throw for a bunch of yards, and he's probably going to put up a touchdown or 2, but it's going to really come down to if they can turn him over and steal a possession.
Hey, Matt, I've been watching. Sorry, Connor. Matt, I've been watching football. I've been watching football for like 50 years. Can you tell me what a turnover is? Because I haven't seen one of those in a while. What's the definition of turnover at this point?
I know teams are allowed to intercept the football. I know that seems like a farce here as Jeff fans, but yeah, it happens.
Oh my God. Yeah, or recover a fumble? Maybe I think in my whole life of watching New York Jets football, they've probably forced 30 fumbles and maybe recovered 1 or 2 of them. I mean, literally every time. I saw, Quincy Williams. I mean, I freaking love the guy. Great guy. I'm wearing his jersey and an incredible player. But there was a play, I think it was against the Steelers, one of the first drives of the game. I mean, Quincy Williams forces the. I don't know if he forced the fumble. I forgot who forced the fumble, but the ball was literally right in front of him, and he tried to pounce on it, and he just couldn't maintain possession, and the Steelers recovered. So it's just little things like that I think have been killing the Jets' play as of late.
Let me say one more thing real quick. I know you got other callers probably. Jacksonville pounded the Patriots. Jacksonville was horrendous the weeks before that. We have no excuses. And I hate to talk about selling off pieces, but this is our last hope. A lot of these guys got to look in the mirror, like Quinnen. Quinnen, this is your opportunity to shine, bro. You got 2 edge rushers coming off the edge, with speed. You got to start feasting, man. I don't care if you're not a leader, you're not a vocal guy, but you're going to have to start it or our season's gone. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you, Ted.
Ted, appreciate the call. And I think Ted made some great points there. Matt, what is something you're honing in on that you view as a key to success for the Jets today?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about the pressure a lot and how there's a need to get home, but as Ted just brought up there, I think it's good to piggyback off that. You have a legitimate edge presence on the other side of Will McDonald, who's essentially been the only one who can get any sort of consistent pass rush pressure. You hope that opens up some things for the interior because I know there's a lot of people who are very, very critical of Quinnen Williams, and I get it. He hasn't been putting up the box score numbers, but I do think he's still a very solid, interior rusher. And it's just, I think it's time for him to convert. And I think fans are just a little frustrated that they aren't seeing the sacks or the pressure numbers come in as high as they would like, but now's a good opportunity for that to change as the defensive line just got a lot better by adding Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I kind of mentioned there the Jets pass rush on what they've been doing kind of with the blitzing numbers overall, what they've been really honing in on. I think that's something that's, really key to mention there. I do expect how do you expect the Jets to blitz today with Reddick back? I think that's going to be something really interesting to watch.
Yeah, you bring up a good point because we saw them blitz a lot the last time they played New England, and that was something that they don't really do all that much. But with Hassan Reddick coming back, you saw Jeff Ulbrich mention this allows you to rush 4 and get home with your front 4. So they might not blitz a lot in this game, and they're probably, I would guess they're banking on their front 4 to get home with the edge rushers in Hassan Reddick and Will McDonald.
Before we keep it going, we do have a super chat here from our guy Tyler Brent. I didn't come all the way from NJ to see a Pats loss. It's May Day. Go Pats, Matt. We're expanding the audience
right now.
Oh, it's someone from it's someone next to you. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
One of my close friends is a Patriots fan. I did have the pleasure of watching the last time these two teams played together with him, and he was down really bad. I told him this is a baptism in fire of what real life as a football fan is after watching a 20-year dynasty. So yeah, I did bring a Pats fan with me to this Jets Pats watch party, but it's going to be nice to watch him squirm today.
What jersey is he rocking, Matt?
No jersey,
okay.
Just a Patriots t-shirt with their helmet on it.
All right, Drake May, I know the whole tagline to start the season is the Jets were going to kill Brock Purdy. That was not the case. Purdy had a great week one game, but the Jets are going to kill Drake May today, and I think that's what needs to happen. Hassan Reddick, he's coming back. I know we spoke a lot about that. Who's someone that's underrated, Matt, in the Jets pass rush? When we gave our hot takes, I'm sure we'll get to that. When we gave our hot takes last week, I said a Solomon Thomas sack. He came very, very close. He tripped Russell Wilson up, and then Wilson threw the ball away. I was thinking of you, Matt. I was so happy. I thought my hot take was going to hit. Who's someone in the pass rush? Quincy Williams, he's basically been invisible. Who do you expect to step up on the defensive line today?
Yeah, really tough question for me. I think they need more out of Javon Kinlaw right now. So I guess that would be my answer from a pass rush perspective of someone who they might need a little bit more. Someone that just in general, if we're talking underrated on the defense in general, I think Jalen Mills' impact is one that I would bring up because I like his willingness to go down to the line of scrimmage and make plays in the run game, which felt like it was something that they were lacking on this defense. The Jets it's been very well documented. They're not a great team against the run. But I've liked how Mills has looked the last couple of weeks, especially in run defense. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. I know not really a pass rusher here, but someone who I think that isn't going to get talked about a lot, but could play a nice role in this game.
You bring up a good point with Mills because Ashton Davis, he's out. He's dealing with the concussion. And Ulbrich said during his media availability this week that all three players who are out, Fotu, Davis, and who am I missing here? Fotu Davis, and there's one more that I'm missing. Oh, AVT, excuse me. AVT. Okay. He said all three of those guys are candidates for the injured reserve list. Now with Ashton Davis out, Jalen Mills, former Super Bowl champion, he's stepping in to an increased role. Do you know, if you're the Jets, do you rush Davis back? I know he's looked really poor. The Jets signed him to an extension this offseason. Do you kind of take your time and let Mills step into that bigger role?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily in a spot where I feel like the Jets have to rush Ashton Davis back from injury. I know he's a special teams guy and clearly has a role in that department, but what's good with Ashton, or in years gone by, what's been good is he kind of just always finds himself around the ball, whether it's fumble recovery, forcing a fumble, interception, but he looked really rough in coverage against, I believe it was against Buffalo. He got picked on, and his run defense is always very inconsistent. He can tackle, but he kind of just takes these weird pursuit angles a lot of times. So a frustrating player, really good athlete who I think his athleticism kind of bails him out in some opportunities. But for me, I look at Jalen Mills as a all-around better player, even though he's older and there's clearly a risk that, for defensive backs as they approach 30, like it doesn't always age gracefully. But I feel personally a little bit more comfortable with Mills out there.
Speaking of roster transactions, Matt, the Jets did elevate safety Jarius Monroe ahead of today's game with the Ashton Davis injury, obviously. I'd expect him to maybe play the role that Mills did, during week 6 against the Bills, a few snaps, but not too much. And they did release edge rusher Takk McKinley in a corresponding move for them elevating Hassan Reddick to the active roster. That move basically tells me that they didn't want to expose someone like Braden McGregor to the waiver wire. What are your thoughts on that move? The McKinley, it's interesting that they went with McKinley. He had a great preseason. I mean, I love his story. Former first-round pick, steps in, great preseason. But given the opportunity with this Jermaine Johnson injury, he really hasn't, stepped up to bat and lived up to the challenge.
No, yeah, he was a really good training camp story, and in the preseason made a lot of plays. But as you rightfully pointed out, had a huge opportunity. Jermaine Johnson goes down in week 2. And there's pretty much a gaping hole at the other edge rushing spot, and didn't really do much to get Michael Clemens out of that role. So was slightly surprised by it because of the offseason and training camp that he had, that they decided to pull the plug on it. But when you look at it, they clearly like the UDFAs and Eric Watts or Braden McGregor, and see more potential there than, a veteran who at 27, 28 years old, he kind of already is what he is. So I get it. It's, unfortunate, but he wasn't really playing up to par.
Now we're going to move over to the offensive side of the ball. Matt, there was a lot of talk about Aaron Rodgers this week, and, a lot of people wanted them to sit down for a week, heal up and put Tyrod in. I was one of those people, Matt. Where'd you stand right now? And where do you sit, in terms of what do you expect of Aaron Rodgers today?
Yeah, I think for me, I want to see a game closer to what he had the first time against New England. I don't want to see the turnovers, and I get it. Like the second interception, I don't think anyone could, even the biggest Aaron Rodgers hater, I don't think could put that on him. It goes off. It's a perfectly thrown ball that goes off, his wide receiver's chest. But the first one I thought was a little hesitant to go over the middle of the field. So I just want to see him be a little bit more decisive. They clearly have, the weaponry now with adding Devontae Adams. You have Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall is such a good factor in the passing attack as well. There's really no excuses, and they're going up against a defense that looked like they quit last week. And again, I mentioned it already on the broadcast, but their head coach called them soft. So they're reeling a little bit. But for me, I just don't want to see Rodgers try to force it and do too much. Take what's in front of you. If it's the check down, that's fine. But don't turn the ball over.
Now, where'd you stand just in the middle of this week? Starting Rodgers or starting Tyrod? I wanted to see Tyrod out there just because it's the Patriots. Give Rodgers an extra week, heal up for Thursday night, and I think Tyrod gets a lot of slander. I mean, I think he has the potential to be, I view him as maybe, the 28th to 31st best quarterback in this league. I think he's talented, and here's the thing though, Matt. If Tyrod goes out and throws for 450 yards, which was very unlikely, and 4 touchdowns, and the Jets win 40-3,
Yep.
then the talk becomes, well, do the Jets bench Rodgers and and put Tyrod in for good? And it's a lot of controversy there, and I don't think Rodgers would want to sit down for a game.
No, he wants to fight through it and he wants to
Mhm.
play. I get where you're coming from on that, and I wouldn't have hated it either because he's dealing with a lot, hamstring, both knees, a high ankle sprain. Sit him down for a week, because it is, one, it's the Patriots, but two, you have a short week after that. I don't think they want to take any risk because they can't. We have a super chat in here from our guy
Yep.
Dan, but they cannot afford to lose this game. So I think it's more of they just don't want to play any games. They want to put their best out there and win because their season's on the line for like the 4th week in a row, and they have to win this game against the Patriots.
Yep, let's get to our super chat here from Dan NY. Season officially over if we lose today, Matt. I know we have our Jets talk off air over text, over StreamYard before the show. I know we both said today that we think, I don't think the Jets are going to make the playoffs this year. I hope they do. I hope they prove me wrong. I really don't see any world though where they make the playoffs. Matt, where do you stand with this super chat and the playoffs?
I think they got to rattle off 4 straight wins to get to 6-5 for me to start believing again, which is easier said than done because this week against the Patriots is one where you should take care of business. But then you have a short week against the Texans, who are just flat out significantly better. I don't think there's any debate, even coming off the loss this past week. The Texans are just a better football team. And then the Cardinals and Indy, they're both feisty too. So. And that's a Sunday night game against the Indianapolis Colts before you go into the bye. If they are 6-5 and then come out of the bye and are 6-6, maybe we'll say going into the Miami game, there'll be a chance that they're alive. But I don't want, if they win today, you're not going to see me on the post game or on Monday talking about, here we go, the Jets are now going on this run. No, they should beat the Patriots. It's really about what they do after this, if they can continue to build momentum. I'm not crazy optimistic that they can do it just based on what we've seen from them, but I think we just got to take it game by game, one game at a time.
Yeah, I'll give you guys a spoiler. We're gonna get to our game picks here, but I'm picking the Jets to beat the Patriots. I do feel confident they will they will go on to Foxborough and collect a win. I've choose the Jets, Matt, and I think you as well. Every single time here on these pregame shows, and I don't care if the Jets win 40-2. The Patriots get one safety and the Jets score 40 points. Even if that happens, the craziest score you can imagine. The Jets, the biggest blowout victory in NFL history. Even if that happens, I'm still not picking the Jets to beat the Texans on Thursday Night Football, even though it is in our own building. I know we're here to preview the Jets versus Patriots game, but what is kind of your outlook on that Texans game? You do mention the Jets have to go on this crazy tear in order to make the playoffs. Where do you see those losses coming?
Yeah, that's where it gets a little bit complicated. Today is one where they should win, but we've seen them lose games that they should win time and time again. They were, 8-point favorites against Denver, and clearly Denver looks better than maybe any of us thought they would this year, but still lost the game 10-9 where they're heavy favorites. It's on the road. I don't think it's a guarantee that they win this game. I think the 7-point spread's a little ridiculous, honestly. They're getting a little bit too much respect, but I'm not overly confident, even if they come out and play a good game today, that they can beat the Texans at home. They beat them last year, but really different circumstances. They can't afford to win or lose games rather in conference anymore because they put themselves in such a bad spot with this slow start at 2-5. How do they beat them? I don't know. I'm like you. I'm not gonna predict them to beat the Texans next week, but all starts today.
Yeah, I can't find it right now, so I'm not going to pull it up on the screen, but I don't know if you saw it, Matt. It got about 100,000 views. It was a tweet that Jets X Factor's very own Michael Nania put out, and he made a very good point. The Broncos game, and I'm with you, Matt. That's always a game I'm going to look back on. I'm going to be like, if they only just snuck past the Broncos, they won 11-9 in ugly fashion. Just come out with a win. But he said, even if the Jets beat the Broncos and they go into the playoffs with this very, very poor record, they're not really a real threat if they can't go out and beat an elite team like the Texans. It's one thing, to get to the playoffs, and then it's one thing to be, an elite team in the playoffs. Matt, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's just it, right? Like it'd be all well and good to, finally end this playoff drought, but if you can't compete with the good teams, then what does that really do?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's pointless. Then great, you go 9-8 and you get bounced by 20 points in the wild card round. That doesn't really feel all that great. So yeah, it's gonna be a really big test, right? Like if they're serious about turning this thing around, I think they have to put out a significantly better effort against the Texans. Like I don't want to hear an excuse of, oh well, they're a good team. The Broncos are better than we expected, or the Vikings were 4-0 or 5-0, whatever it was when we played them. Like eventually you have to beat good teams if you want to be considered one.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to get back to the phone lines here in a second, but before we do that, I'm just going to pull up the Jets schedule for the rest of the season. Obviously, we're here on Sunday, October 27th, Foxborough, Massachusetts, where they take on the New England Patriots. But after that, Matt, you see the 2 Dolphin games. It's crazy to think, but if all goes wrong, there's a shot. I hate to be that guy, but there's a shot that the Jets, if all goes wrong, they could be a 3, 4, even a 5-win team this season.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say that. And I know we have like Tua's coming back this week, but I know we have a lot of Jet fans who, when looking at the schedule and are trying to convince themselves that they're going to get back in the playoff race, are putting in both of those Dolphins games as wins. And I just don't know how you could do that based on how this team has played against Miami the last couple of years. I think it'd be nice to, I personally, I'm looking at it as a split. If you could split against Miami, I think you feel pretty good there. But there are unfortunately no easy games on your schedule when you constantly play down to competition and just can't get out of your own way.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Matt, after this Patriots game, like I said, there's no games that are just easy wins. I mean, I'm going to just jot all the way down to week 17 against the Bills. You could chalk that up as a loss in Buffalo. I mean, it's, the Rams are a very tough team. The Jaguars, I'd say, is an easy win. I think the Jaguars and the Patriots, Matt, are the only 2 guaranteed wins for the team. We are going to get back to the phone lines, though, so let's go to B-Mac, who's next up. B-Mac, what's going on?
Oh, hey guys, good morning to you.
What's going on, B-Mac?
What's going on, guys? Yeah, man. First of all, go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know Malachi Corley is active for today's game, Matt. I know we were speaking about that. I'm just going to pull up. Sorry to cut you off there, B-Mac, but I'm just going to pull it up. Our inactives for today's game: Alan Lazard, Carter Warren, Izzy Abanikanda, Lucky Fotu, Elijah Vera Tucker, Ashton Davis, Tony Adams. Those are the inactives, and Corley is active. So that's, I don't think there are many surprises there. It is good to see, though, that Corley is active.
Yeah. Oh, well, I just looked and I just saw Lazard is not going to play today. So, yeah. So we'll see what Malachi Corley can do. Hopefully, they can use him more in this game. But yeah, I'm just going to go on a little rant. Before people need to stop it with the Tyrod stuff. You know what I mean? Look, Rodgers is going to play as long as he can't play no more. All right. If the man has one pinky, he's gonna still try out there. Like I'm not defending Rodgers, for his play. You know what I mean? I think his play has been terrible and he needs to play better. But you got to remember who this guy sat behind for 3 years. The guy who's who's always gonna be compared to the guy who was deemed a Iron Man. You know what I mean? And like he's going to do the Brett Favre. I'm gonna play hurt. I'm gonna play banged up. I'm gonna keep my. I'm trying to start my new streak of starting games, and until and unless I pop another Achilles, I'm gonna go out there and play. So I just wish people to stop with Tyrod stuff. Number one, and then number two. there's no excuses for this team. Jets got to go out here and they got to lay the smackdown on the Patriots. And like you said, even if they go out there and blow them out, nobody's not going to feel like,
Yep.
Nobody's not going to be pumping their chests and saying, "Oh, the Jets are back." No, do it against Houston. You know what I mean? Do what the Rams did last week. Wide off 2 straight wins in a row, heading to the mini bye. Go to 4-5, and then we can talk. But until then, this team gotta make me believe that they can go on a run. And talk is cheap. I'm tired of all the talks. I'm tired of all the speeches. Now it's time to go out there and put it together and turn this thing around.
Absolutely, Matt. We're going to go to you first here, but before we do that, we do have a new member on NY Flight, Jets Talk #1 Austrian Jets fan. We really do appreciate all the support. Everyone smash that like button. Like we said, make sure you are subscribed. Both of our channels at Matt O'Leary NY, at NY Flight Jets Talk. Matt, I'm going to go to you first here. Aaron Rodgers, he's just been getting, annihilated the past few weeks. The protection up front has been terrible, which we did touch on at the beginning of the show. I want to get your thoughts here. So, Jets beat reporter for ESPN, Rich Cimini, doesn't think Aaron Rodgers is going to play next year. I don't think he is, and nor should he. I think if I was Aaron Rodgers, I'd hang up the cleats after the season. Matt, what are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really dependent on how they close out this year. I don't think he would want to go out sad, unfortunately. Like, I just don't see him, if things go wrong, be like, yeah, I'm just going to fold up shop. So I am saying it's like 60-40 he's back. So I'm leaning towards he's coming back next year. But I think it's far from a guarantee one way or the other. It's certainly possible. But again, at the end of the day, like, I don't think he's just going to go completely out here. Oh, look at this. You want to give me 1 second on here? Look at this lovely.
Wow.
In area.
Wow.
Yeah, this is
There we
perfect.
go.
Look at this. Live from the
Wow.
beach gallery today.
That's
This is
nice.
the kind of treatment you get when you come out to Keith.
Wow. Matt, I think I might have to make it out to the beach gallery for the next watch party.
Yeah. So very, very excited here. It should be a fun one, but yeah, sorry on Rodgers. I think there's a good chance that he would want to come back. Again, it's contingent on what happens the rest of the way, but I don't think he'd want to go out like this.
B-Mac, before we get to you, we do have a membership here on Matt's channel. Mother effing Chew is a member now over on the Matt O'Leary at Matt O'Leary NY YouTube channel. Mother effing Chew. Appreciate all the support. B-Mac, what are your thoughts there? I know you're a big Rodgers guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm a little torn on this because it would have shocked me if he would call quits. You know what I mean? Like I said, if you look at him, he has been taking a lot of hits. He has been banged up. His demeanor and body language on the sideline is like, what the hell am I doing here? You know what I mean? I could have went out like this in Green Bay. But I mean, at the same time, he's a prideful guy. You know what I mean? Like, he did say a million times that he doesn't want to go out looking like a bum. And he said that he wants to play well into his 40s. So I think I'm with Matt. It depends on how the Jets, close it out here. If the Jets go on a winning streak and they somehow, let's say they magically get into the playoffs and they lose in the wild card round, I think you want to give it another shot. But if this goes south and this turns into a disaster, then he may want to call it quits. But I think he doesn't want to go out. I think he wants to go out. He wants to go out on a positive note, not on a negative note. But I'm gonna go with Matt though. I'm gonna wait and see what happens here.
B-Mac, appreciate the call. Final score prediction for today's game.
Oh, my score prediction, 35-6.
Nice.
Wow.
Take that. Please.
Love
I hope
it,
you're
B-Mac.
right.
There we go. Appreciate the
All right.
call, B-Mac, and all the support. Matt, just a couple things to touch on before we go back to the lines. Ricky, we do see you there. You are next up on the line. I'm going to start with a report now coming from Jordan Schultz. In replying to the Patriots inactive list. Linebacker Josh Uche is out today against the Jets, despite not having an injury. He's been a focal point in trade talks around the NFL, and his contract is very appealing to contending teams. I think this is huge for the Jets' offensive line, and it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Aaron Rodgers to find receivers.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of their best defensive players and a damn good pass rusher, so that's going to make a difference against again, an offensive line that hasn't really been great in pass protection, or at least the left side of the line. I think I thought against the Steelers, I was pleasantly surprised with how Morgan Moses played. I thought he did a good job against TJ Watt and Joe Tippmann as well, but Tyron Smith has been an unfortunate struggle, but the job got a little bit easier with Josh Uche out.
Now I'm gonna, go back to the Jets list. I wanted to, I know originally we said no surprises, but now it looks that the Jets are gonna run with a 9-man pass rush today, and both Braden McGregor and Eric Watts are active for today's game. Despite Hassan Reddick coming back, is that a bit surprising to you?
A little bit. It is a little bit, but I like I mentioned earlier, I'm not expecting to see like 60+% of snaps for Hassan Reddick. I think they ease him in. I think that number is going to be closer to around 30 or 35%. So they're going to need a heavy rotation against this Patriots offensive line. So not crazy surprised, but they're going to go with, I think they'll go more heavy fronts also. Like, I don't think they're going to play as much nickel with some of the injuries they have in the defensive backfield.
Absolutely. Now the offensive side of the ball before we get back to the lines. This is the reason, everyone, why I have been preaching, do not trade Mike Williams. Do not trade Mike Williams. Do not trade Mike Williams. Now, when Allen Lazard injury comes, Mike Williams is the next man in line. Seems as though, Rodgers doesn't trust him as much. What do you expect out of Williams today, Matt?
Yeah, he's clearly going to be the number 3 receiver. He did have a big catch. We got to give him credit. He had a nice play in the Steelers game. It was too little too late, unfortunately. But yeah, Lazard has been one of the safety blankets for Aaron Rodgers this year, and he's not going to have that today. So a little bit concerning, but honestly, I think while Mike Williams is obviously next man up, I think we'll see even more Breece Hall in the passing attack. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's first or second in targets in the passing game today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting how the Jets kind of do utilize their offensive weapons. I do expect a big game, especially without Uche, not only the pass rush, but the way he's able to drop back into coverage. I think that's going to open up a lot of opportunities. Let's go back to the lines. We have our guy, Ricky, New York, up here on the show. Ricky, what's popping?
Hey, what's happening, Connor? You know what? I'm glad that they didn't entertain the idea of getting rid of Mike Williams, kind of like you said, with what's happened with Lazard. But the reason that, Lazard has gotten so much run this year is because he has Aaron Rodgers' trust. Okay. And even though he's out today, like you said, he's been Rodgers' safety net. Well, I don't necessarily know if Mike Williams will become that safety net because I don't know that trust is there. However, that's where Devontae being here is going to factor in because he does have Rodgers' trust. And so I think a lot of those balls that would have went to Lazard will probably go to Devontae as opposed to Mike Williams. I'm looking forward to today. If there was any team to play to turn this thing around, this would be that team. Yep. And, just like you said, the Patriots are getting rid of one of their best defensive players. The Patriots, you can tell that their season's over and they think their season's over, but because they're going to start jettisoning their good players. We're not doing that. So, it's not over till it's over. Reddick is there now. We'll see if he can make a difference. Maybe I can go out wearing this Reddick t-shirt without feeling like a complete jackass because he's actually with the team now. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to this game. I hate this team, and if there was a game that I was confident that we would win left on the schedule, this would definitely be it.
Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just everything that Ricky just ran through there, it's hard to disagree with, right? Like, you look at the schedule, there's no guarantees, but you bring up a really good point with the Patriots looking like they're quitting a little bit and their coach, calling them out for it. I wonder if that's the wake-up call and they come out flying today. But again, with Uche out, it feels like they're just like, all right, we're going to pack this thing in. And it wouldn't surprise me if they just ended up being like a 3-win team after it's all said and done. So, you gotta win these games. There's no excuses. New England has not looked good since week 1. The Jets need a bounce back game badly. So I hope everything you just said comes to fruition.
Absolutely. Before we do keep it going, another, now Mother Effing Chew Matt is a member on both of our channels, both at Matt O'Leary NY and NY Flight Jets Talk. Mother Effing Chew, really do appreciate all the support. And not only Josh Uche's out for the Patriots, who's among the notable names, several notable inactives here for the Patriots. Wide receiver Jalen Polk, safety Kyle Duggar, right guard Layden Robinson, obviously Uche, and defensive tackle Daniel Akwale with an abdominal injury. So Patriots are, without a lot of players today. Ricky, what's your key to success here for the Jets?
Don't turn the ball over. Stop the run. I mean, it basically the same shit that I say every week.
Recover a fumble, maybe. Intercept a pass. Yeah.
Yeah, win the turnover battle, stop the run. O-line has to play better. Like I said, pretty much the same thing I say every week.
Yep. Exactly.
Thank you, Ricky.
Ricky, really appreciate the call. So, Matt, we're gonna start to wrap things up here shortly, but let's get into our hot take segment now. This is the 3rd week in a row we're doing it. We're both 0 for 2. What was yours last week? Oh no, you said a Tyler Conklin touchdown in week 6.
Yeah, so I should have stuck with that because he had one.
Yeah, exactly. You should have stuck with that. He got in the end zone last week for the first time since 2022. I know I'm 0 for 2. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the clip from last show. I believe you're 0 for 2 as well. I'm not completely sure.
I don't remember what mine was last week.
Yeah, neither do I. I remember week 6. I know you had the Conklin touchdown. Week 6, I had Irv Charles forcing a fumble and punt coverage, and last week I had Solomon Thomas coming away with your sack. What's your hot take for this week?
Oh, you know what? I think it was a defensive score was my prediction.
That's what it was. It was.
Okay, so that was wrong, clearly. This week I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I'll go with the hotter take that Breece Hall leads the team in receptions and receiving yards today.
Like it. What am I gonna?
Which maybe that's a cop out because he did that last week, but just with Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, I feel like everyone's going to give them the attention, be like, oh, this is the breakout game. But I don't think Breece Hall has a big rushing day, but it wouldn't shock me if he had 9 or 10 catches and over 100 yards again.
Yeah. One that would have been a great before we get to mine, one that would have been a great hot take, Matt. It came close. It didn't happen. In Irv Charles touchdown. I mean, that was close. Did you see that replay? It looked like he got both feet in.
It was very close.
Yeah. I looked at the odds. I think it was plus 3,500 for Irv Charles anytime touchdown. It didn't even show first touchdown. That was probably through the roofs. But my hot take for this week, this is gonna be a tough one. I'm gonna, I can go in a bunch of different directions here. Sauce Gardner's an interesting one. You could say maybe he'll come up with an interception. Would it be a hot take? Would you consider maybe a Hassan Reddick 2-sack game a hot take?
No, I think that counts. I absolutely think that counts.
I'm going to throw that in there. My hot take for this week, Hassan Reddick, he comes away with 2 sacks. I was kind of borderline a Mike Williams touchdown, but I'm like, that's not too hot. Maybe Hassan Reddick, but I mean, that would be great. 2 sacks coming off of, a prolonged holdout. So that would be a great sight to see over at MetLife Stadium. Matt, final score prediction for today.
I said on my YouTube channel in my preview earlier this week, and I'm going to stick with that same score. And this is more of I need to change the vibes prediction. All right. Because I've picked the Jets to win every week the last 4 weeks and they lost. So I am picking the Pats to win this game.
Oh, wow.
17-16. And I am hoping for the reverse psychology here of them trying to prove me wrong, because they've done it when I picked them the last 4 weeks to win. They've lost. So now I want to pick them to lose and hope they prove me wrong to win. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, no, I understand that, Matt. So I I'm superstitious too, but like I said, I'm not picking the Jets no matter what next week. This is gonna be here's the thing. If they win today, I'm still not picking them next week. But if they lose today, I'm not picking them in any game for the rest of the season.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm never picking them again if they lose today. I'm gonna go ahead. Jets victory, 30-24. I think that's the final score. I was close last week. I was close during week 3. I said the Jets were gonna win 30-10. Which would have just required the Jets scoring one more touchdown and then the Patriots actually scoring a touchdown. So I was one score off on both sides. I'm going to say 30-24. I think Drake May, he throws for 2 touchdowns. Rahamdre Stevenson gets in the end zone for 1. As for the Jets, I think it's Breece Hall gets in for 2. Garrett, I'll throw in there for 1. I'll get 3 Greg the Leg field goals. That's my prediction.
Is he gonna hit him? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's looked pretty rough.
He'll go like 3 for 5 today. I don't know. It's just one more that brings up another topic here before we go. Greg Zuerlein, the Jets we did speak last week on the pregame show, worked out 3 other kickers. He got field goal blocked last week, and it looked like it should have been 2 blocks. The first one came back due to a penalty. I mean, when do you pull the plug with a guy like him?
Another bad week. Like, I don't know how much. I think he might cost them a game again this year, which is really unfortunate. It felt like I'm not going to kill him for the 50-yarder in the rain against Denver, but that Buffalo game, there were 2 kicks under 45 yards that he missed.
Yeah.
And like that really cost him, and that changes your season if you beat Buffalo in that spot. But they worked out kickers. What was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I think if he has another bad game, they're calling him back and saying, "All right, come work out again. We're ready to make something happen."
Yeah, it's just I know I don't know if it was you who said it. I think it might have been you. It might have been on the Jets podcast, your weekly show every Wednesday. I'm not sure if it was you. It was one of the Jets content guys who I was listening to 2 weeks ago, and they made a great point. I think it was you. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you said like we saw Zuerlein struggle in the preseason and Seibert look great. Was that you?
Yeah, that I did. Yeah. I did mention that.
Yeah, and like that's something a GM needs to pick up on, I believe, is what you said there. When you see someone, even if you sign a guy like Zuerlein to, an extension in the offseason, Seibert now he goes out, he's having a ton of success. Zuerlein, he still struggled in the preseason, and now, it becomes the scenario where once a kicker loses their confidence, they're cooked, so to speak.
Yeah, it's really hard to get that back. And it would have been a tough decision for Joe Douglas to make at the time, right? Because of the year that
he had last year,
that Zuerlein was coming off of. But my point in that was, the good GMs, they always know when it's time to move on from a player and when it is time to make that decision. And there were signs there, and I was kind of just hoping that, rustiness, something that he'd figure out. But it wasn't an uncommon opinion to think that Seibert looked better in both training camp and the preseason. Like if you went to practice too, I thought the same thing. So it's unfortunate. I hope he just straightens it out, because that's the easiest solution here, is that he just finds it again and is fine. But the likelihood of that happening at 37, I don't know.
Yeah, and that whole the whole Joe Douglas topic is another thing we can we can even talk about. How much power does he even have? I know when I went live for my breaking news stream of Hassan Reddick signing an extension, when Alan called into the show, he described Joe Douglas as a quote glorified puppet. Now it becomes the point where Woody Johnson's making all these decisions, and we'll end on this note here. Is Joe Douglas back for the 2025 season? Because it really seems like he hasn't made any of these decisions. Woody Johnson's gone out and said this is the best roster they've had, in years. What happens there?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards no at this point, because.
But then who do you get? Like, GMs don't grow on trees.
No, and that's totally fair, and that's a totally valid pushback. I don't have that answer for you now. Yep. I want to do some digging and see, look around some of the front offices around the league and see who that next guy is. But I just think that if the Jets miss the playoffs this year, which is trending towards that's going to happen, that would be 6 years of Joe Douglas being the general manager without them making the playoffs. And I know there's more context to it, right? Like, he didn't have the draft and free agency in 2019 because he was hired in May, and he had a really good class in 2022. I don't think he is a horrible GM, but I don't think he should be without criticism. I think too many fans put him on this pedestal because of the 2022 draft class and think that he's untouchable. but I think he needs to be held a little bit more accountable for where this team is right now. Last year they didn't bring in a quarterback after the Aaron Rodgers injury. They were comfortable riding with Zach Wilson for a third year, and we saw how that worked out. And then this year, they completely dismantled the defensive line, and I think that has really cost them a lot early on this year. And a lot of misses at left tackle and wide receiver kind of forced their hand to go out and sign an aging Tyron Smith and to go out and acquire Devontae Adams and bring in Mike Williams. So, I think his past mistakes are coming up to bite him a little bit this year. So if they don't make the playoffs, like if they're 7-10 for a third year in a row, I don't know how you can justify bringing him back at this point.
Yeah, it's just such an interesting topic because now it seems that Woody's making all the moves. So, I know our guy Ryan, Matt, has said on his show, like, who knows if Douglas even does want to come back next year. And then with the potential of a new head coach, I don't think Ulbrich earns the job for good. I think ideally I want someone like Vrabel. I know you guys were talking about this on at the end of the Talking Jets show on Tuesday, and I thought Greenby made a good point about bringing in someone like Ben Johnson. Like, I had to agree with him there because I want someone who has a track record of being a talented head coach in this league. I don't want to take a flyer on another coordinator like we have the past, 4 head coaches. Who do you lean your hand towards in this scenario?
Yeah, for me, I think I would go towards the top of my list in whatever order.
Yep.
Kevin Stefanski and Mike Vrabel, two guys who have had proven success in this league before, have won playoff games. It's like we're going to see a lot of young coaches. Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick from Houston.
Oh yes.
There's going to be the hot offensive coordinator, and I get it. Like to those who want to go that route, I understand why, because it's such an offensive-driven league. And we see Kevin O'Connell and Sean McVay come in and just have so much success because how good they are offensively. Todd Monken is another one. Yep. I love Todd Monken. I wanted the Jets to hire him in 2019. That was one of the guys that I really liked. But there's risk involved with that. And I think with where the Jets are, assuming that Rodgers is coming back and assuming that they're going to try to go for it again, I don't want to go through the struggles of a first-year head coach learning on the fly. I think you want someone who's done the job before and had success in that job. With that being said, if the Cowboys fire Mike McCarthy, I want no part of Mike McCarthy.
I'm not touching McCarthy. Stefanski's an interesting one. I like what are your thoughts on the maybe going an experienced guy? They've struggled as of late, but maybe like a Doug Peterson, a Frank Reich. Are you cool with that, or you want to maybe go lean towards Vrabel, who's one, who's built a more talented roster?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the Vrabel one makes a little bit more sense. Now, he's not an offensive coach, so you have to get a good offensive coordinator to come in here to pair with someone like that. I think he'd be more of like the CEO, kind of oversee everything style of coach, not like an offensive or defensive guy. But yeah, Frank Reich, I don't think really does it for me. He really struggled. And I know Carolina's a really tough situation, but I wouldn't want to sign up for that. If he wants to be an offensive advisor, a quarterback coach, I think that was his best role as the quarterback coach in Philadelphia. So that's what I'd look for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Panthers have just been a mess for the past, whether it's Frank Reich or whether it's someone, the new coach, Joe Canales, I think his name is. I mean, I don't know if you've listened to his, post-game press conferences, but there was a clip going crazy about him the other day. It was like, we decided to put Bryce Young in the game because we saw there were a ton of injuries on the offensive line and we didn't want Andy Dalton to get beat up or something. Something along.
Not great.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But we do have one more caller on the line before we wrap up.
Do it.
And the caller is the Lane Train. We have the Lane Train joining the show. Lane, what's going on?
Hello, Connor.
Hey,
how
Lane.
do you feel about the hello, Matt O'Leary. How do you feel about the Jets? I mean, Aaron Rodgers has to do well in this game. Do you feel about anything about it?
Yeah, Lane, he is very banged up entering today's game. Both knees, he was on the injury report, obviously, the past 3 or 4 weeks now, I believe it was. He played great against the Patriots in week 3. I think he needs to, set the tone today with a solid performance. I want, I want a few touchdowns for him.
Yeah.
I want that 300-yard game, a flash of vintage Aaron Rodgers today.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he
yeah.
does need to play better this week. It's it's a
I'm
confidence.
having my breakfast.
What are you having for breakfast?
Yeah,
Well,
Lane, what's for breakfast?
I had nice pancakes. And
Pancakes? Hell yeah.
Nice.
coffee. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I mean, honestly, this news about Aaron Rodgers getting injured. I mean, nervous, but I mean, you have to understand that he'll probably, I don't know. I mean, I think he has a ball to come out and do well today.
Yeah, they need a bounce back performance on that offensive
Yeah.
line, especially with Tyron Smith. I think that's the name that sticks out the most to me at left tackle.
Absolutely. Lane, what's your final score prediction for today?
So I think the Jets start out big. I think they come out and they win 40, and and the other team gets like 37 points. It'd be like
Wow.
ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Wow.
and then
that's epic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because you look at like every team going into week 8, and then like week 9, and then you have the Halloween game for the Jets with the black uniforms. Do you think they'll win with those or not?
For the Texans game, are you talking about? Do you think they'll win that game?
Yeah, for the Halloween game the coming week.
I don't think I'm going to have it in me to predict them to win, unfortunately. Even if they go out and win and score 40 points today.
I like the green ones better, and the white ones, not that one. It's like a different team color uniform, honestly. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, thank you for taking my call, Connor.
Of course.
And I'll
Thank
talk
you,
to you
Lane.
soon.
Of course.
Bye.
Lane, we really do appreciate the call, and I think Matt, yeah, exactly. Bring in the heat here at the end of the Week 8 post game show. I think that'll have to do it for us, Matt. Week 8 post game show in the books. Final thoughts?
Yeah, hopefully the Jets come out and win. They need it badly for the vibes. Again, if they win this game, you're not going to find me on the post game or all week being like, yeah, the Jets are back. They're going to do this thing. You just got to take it one game at a time. You're playing a team that's been going through it a little bit. So why not? Why not get a win today and just, I don't know, get the positive momentum going a little bit. We're just so down bad after this 4-game losing streak.
A must-win game for our New York Jets to keep our playoff hopes alive. Everyone smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to both of our channels at Matt O'Leary NY, at NY Flight Jets Talk. He's Matt O'Leary. I'm Connor Long, and we are signing off. JTS Jets, Jets, Jets.